All right, welcome everybody to Purposeful Patriarchs. We're going to continue working through this paper. If you've seen part one of this video, I'm going through breaking down the alpha male concept with BGS Ibmore, and I've also gone through basically this outdated stereotype, and it's been debunked. And now we're going to continue a little bit on in terms of the wolf pack as a family, but then it's going to go into toxic masculinity, which I think is such an important topic. So let's go.
Quite late in the 20th century, researchers assumed a wolf pack was a group of unrelated wolves who fought each other for dominance within the pack. When wolves were actually studied in the wild, researchers realized that a wolf pack was a family. In other words, for survival, the pack has to cooperate. That's how they bring down game that larger than themselves. They cooperate, just like lions do. They cooperate. Those in barbarians, all the relations with build and purpose midlife, as well as the
Yeah, one thing I love about research is that what we tend to do in society is that we look at animals and take their worst traits, and it's very interesting that when we look at this, rather than looking at animals and seeing what they do well and how they are similar to us in terms of how we also build our families, we do the opposite and take their worst traits so that we can break down the family, so when it says like there are like the wolf pack is a family, okay, human beings, like we're not supposed to be alone. That's why in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it talks about the fact that man, it's not good for man to be alone, in Genesis. And therefore God makes a helpmeet for him, someone who is comparable, someone who is like him, to help him fulfill his mission on earth. Okay. And where it says this, it says male wolves in this environment focus on protecting pack members and cultural relationships with their children and partner. I would just say spouse. I don't like the term partner. But your counterpart, okay? And that's what a family is. Like, you protect your family so that nobody can bring harm to them, but then you also cultivate relationships. Like, that's what family is. It's about a relationship, so that therefore when things go good, you can share all those happy moments with people that you know are protective and love you and care for you. And then also as well, if things go bad, you know that there are people there that have your back. And that is so important when it comes to building, a family structure, like building your family through marriage, through the rearing of children, through your extended family as you come together. And then therefore it strengthens you against outside forces, both spiritually, against the devilish systems that are around the world that try to take our finances, try to take our food, try to take our homes, our liberties, our equalities, all those sorts of things. And then also against, other, even though we don't like to talk about it, other families, other countries, and just simply protecting them. That's why, they're trying to atomize society so that people are unprotected and they're open to the things that are not in their best interest. Let's continue.
Actually, pair bond. They don't have two or three people, or two or three mates. They have one. They pair bond. So an alpha male and an alpha female, so to speak, would pair bond, and then it will be assortative mating on downward. Which brings us back to toxic masculinity. Behavior that is labeled as such by today's feminists falls into two categories. The first is a sort of posturing and abusive behavior that characterizes Weinstein and his ilk. The second is assertive male behavior that gets labeled toxic, but is nothing of the kind. It's for those healthy male ages when our protection for cakey leaders matters. It is an important aspect of what I would call decent masculinity.
Yeah, decent masculinity. So let me go back and just break down that section before. Okay, so behavior. So like when it comes to toxic masculinity, yeah, in this research, in this paper, you know, it falls into two categories. Okay, so there's this posturing and abusive behavior that's characterized by, because this is the fallout from the Me Too movement. So this is the context that we're going to use to sort of frame this discussion. Okay, so this is what you would say are like your top 10, 15, maybe 20% of men. Okay, they have this posturing abusive behavior. Not all of them, okay, but because of their gravitas, their status, and their power, they have this. Okay, and then they said, the feminists put it into two categories. The second is assertive male behavior that gets labeled toxic but is nothing. Okay, so it's nothing of the kind. Okay, it is the sort of assertiveness that a healthy male engages when offering protection, okay, or taking leadership when it matters. It is an important aspect of what I call decent masculinity. Okay, so it's so important, yeah, for men to have assertive male behavior. It's a protection, okay, and it happens when you're taking leadership, okay. And this is why this whole when it comes to feminism within the black community, they see when black men are assertive, they're labeled toxic because they want to protect you. They want to protect their black women. They want to protect their black children. And they are now called toxic, okay, when they are not toxic. The second, remember, so read it again. The second is assertive male behavior that gets labeled toxic, but is nothing. It is nothing. It is nothing of the kind, okay? It's an important aspect of what I call decent masculinity, okay? And when we were reading the Moynihan report, let me see if I can get up some of my research, and because there was a part of the Moynihan report. Let me see if I can. If I minimize this, and show you in the Moynihan report. So let's go to the Moynihan report because it's in the tangle of pathology. Okay, so this is the okay, so I think it's in the tangle of pathology section, and it talks about so let's go here, and I think it's chapter 3. So the tangle of pathology, was it the roots of the problem? Because it talks about the sassy. Okay, so I think it's on the Jim Crow and segregation. So let's see if we can find it. Oh yeah, there we go. Found it. Okay, so this is how we try to discuss this thing. So remember, going back to the Moynihan report, and this is why I like the Moynihan report. It says, unquestionably, these events works against the emergence of a strong father figure. The very essence of the male animal, from the bantam rooster of the four-stage general, is to strut. So it's to kind of show your bravado. Okay. Indeed, in the 19th century America, a particular type of exaggerated male boastfulness became almost a national style. So amongst white men, they were boasting, they were strutting, they were showing that sort of gravitas. Okay, but this was not so for the Negro male. That sassy N-word, okay, was lynched. Okay, so again, so one of the reasons why I'm trying to make this content is to kind of show you how historical and how deeply rooted this is. It started off in the black community in terms of this malformed matriarchy, which was forced onto them because of slavery and the racism and the Jim Crow and the segregation, which took out the father figure. Okay, And this is why it really upsets me when today you see the way black women talk about black men in terms of them being protective for the black woman, but she doesn't want to be protected by the black man because she doesn't want to listen to what the black man has to say. And they've been weaponized by things like the ideology of feminism, which wants to go against black men. Okay. And that's why, again, I'm working through and playing that video about the alpha male and toxic masculinity, which as I've just shown you is not true. Okay, it's not true. Like being that having that second version of toxic masculinity that feminists will talk about, okay, it's not true. Okay, it's nothing of the sort that is exhibited by these elite men. Okay, and it's not all elite men, but there's a subsection of elite men who are very abusive in their behavior, and sadly a lot of women are socialized to desire the very thing that they're socialized to hate. So they want